started. Welcome everyone to the latest webinar from Hired Power. This webinar series is called Knowledge is Power, and it is an educational webinar series on addiction and recovery brought to you by Hired Power. Today we are here with two esteemed professionals. We have Nanette Zumwalt and Dr. Dawn Grant. I'll tell you a little bit about them in a minute, but they are going to be speaking today. The title is Unplug to Reconnect. This is a conversation on the effects of increasing screen time and long-term compulsive use of our devices, such as our phones, tablets, and laptops. So without further ado, I am excited to introduce our two esteemed speakers. We have Nanette Zumwalt, who many of you hopefully know, not only as the founder and CEO of Hired Power, but she is also recognized as one of the top interventionists and an industry expert, both nationally and internationally. She has been working in the field of mental health and addiction treatment nearly 3 decades, and has a very much of a pioneering role in clinically supporting adolescents, young adults, and adults during the high risk and critical transition periods of recovery. She's a board member of the Association of Intervention Specialists, on the board of directors for the National Association for Addiction Treatment Programs, and a long list of other affiliations that you can see on the Hired Power website. Dr. Dawn Grant is our guest speaker today, and we are very excited to have him because he is perfect for this topic. He is an internationally award-winning media psychologist, a published researcher, an addictions counselor, and an educator with specific expertise on technology's impact on mental health. He's president of the American Psychological Association Division for the Society of Media, Psychology, and Technology, and the list goes on and on. But his current research is all around investigations on the potential effects of social media, cyberbullying, and device-driven attachment bonds on adolescents, teens, young adults, families, and truly our entire culture and society at large. So I'm very excited to get this conversation started and see what we can all learn today. So Dr. Dawn and Nanette, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Risa. Dr. Dawn, I am so excited about this talk today. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, and then I mean, you and I go way back, and I'm a big fan, always have been. So I really appreciate you inviting me. And to be honest, as I've shared with you and other people know, I started looking at this 15 years ago, and not because I'm some sort of Nostradamus. Yeah, that's a joke on my name. I am one of the last generations of digital immigrants, but I'm the father of the first generation of digital natives. And something happened a long time ago where I got into this because I wanted to be a good dad. And for many years, I thought nobody cared. And I was really worried that you guys didn't care about what I was talking about. And if I was wrong about this, there was a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of student loans that I risked on this. So the fact that anyone's interested is good for me. I remember my student loan company.
Yeah, I remember seeing one of your presentations at a conference 14 years ago, where you were talking about device attachment and addiction to process addiction. And I remember all of us hiding our phones, trying to turn off our phones. Phones were going off during your presentation, and we were all shamed.
They still do, by the way.
Right? And that was 14 years ago, and things have progressed so much, especially in the last few years through the pandemic, right? How much more have we become dependent on our devices? How many of us are working from home on Zoom, going to school on Zoom, getting most of our support services on Zoom, let alone the media and social media influx that has increased. So we're using it maybe for business education, but then you've got the social piece and the social media. So tell us why 2002 is the time to reassess our technology use. Why do we need to address that now?
Okay, well, I want to say something that I always say. First of all, and I say this at the beginning of any presentation, I am not anti-technology. No. I am not anti-devices. I am not trying to be, Mr. Device Meister saying, get rid of. No, I use them. Mm-hmm. I have lots of them. I think they're great. The fact that we can connect, certainly over the last couple of years, it's amazing. So I just want everyone to know, I am not here trying to tell you, and it would be unreasonable anyway to say, oh, abstinence from devices. It's not about that. So just to be clear, what I promote and what I teach is healthy device management and the practice of good digital citizenship. So I just want that to be clear, because sometimes people get confused and they think I'm trying to tell them to throw all their devices in the recycling bin, but that's not at all. So having said that, how can I help you?
So tell me about what is good digital citizenship? I mean, I love that terminology, but what does that mean? How do I become a good digital citizen?
Thank you. I think it's pretty simple. My belief is that it's a good practice to engage in any digital space or online with the same character, morals, values, ethics, behavior that you would IRL in real life. So what is good digital citizenship? Good digital citizenship is just being consistent in the way that you behave or act when you're with people in real life and online. Because what happens is there's something, and there's the piece that makes it a little different. There's a thing called the online disinhibition effect. So have you ever heard of that? So
Yes, absolutely, right?
So what is
say
the
things
online?
we would never say in person. We
That's
type things we would never say in person.
We're impulsive, and the online disinhibition effect means that behind the veiled cloak of digitally delivered communication, engagement, we might say and or do things that we would not do in person. Now, I want to put a codicil on this, and I want to say that there are a lot of platforms, exploration opportunities online where the online disinhibition effect might be helpful. Things like people exploring, am I or am I not? Let's just leave it ellipses. But they're just too nervous, or they can't really go and look at those things in real life. Safely, carefully, mindfully, with the right and legitimate sites, platforms, and communities, there are some amazing and excellent benefits of the online disinhibition effect. So I want to make that clear.
Right.
However, we also use it the other way, what we were talking about earlier, where it can be a negative thing, where behind a screen, we might just, and which we wouldn't do in person.
Where all the bullying, we're seeing so much bullying come out of that, right? People are commenting, making comments they wouldn't say to someone's face, or posting pictures about someone else, or all that online bullying comes from that, right?
And thank you. And bullying online is a whole other Oprah.
Right.
Because bullying online also, and cyberbullying is what it's called, has some very subtle pieces to it. And it can, things that you couldn't do in real life, like simple things, leaving someone out of a photo, asking someone to take a photo when you're in a group in real life, but asking them to take it and not including them in the group. Subtle little things when you're posting, not posting, restricting likes or shares. And that's a whole other presentation that I do. But there's some things in that some cyberbullying, very subtle, nasty little pieces of business that you couldn't do in real life. And that's a problem, especially for the kids.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, this could be a whole 3-day workshop if we really wanted to get into this conversation, right? I mean,
when I do it, it is, yeah.
We could go through so many rabbit holes. So talk to me, we talked about good digital citizenship. So just presenting, showing up as authentic, showing up as who you are.
Yeah, and if you're a parent, if you're a parent, I want to say, if you're a parent, talk to your kids about your family values, what you expect, and before, and they should, and let them know you expect that online too. So I wanted to add that piece too for parents or educators or mentors.
I think that's really important, right? We're setting the standards for our kids. And, you talked about that earlier, where we're setting that example where maybe we're on the phone and we're telling them hush, or wait a minute, or just wait. And we're using poor manners, bad behaviors. We're answering phones in grocery store lines. We're having personal private conversations in Target aisles. I mean, the things are crazy that you hear just walking around in public. with people on their phones. So as parents, you know, we're setting those examples, and we should be creating those boundaries and sharing with our kids the same messaging, right?
Yes, you're so on point, Nanette. I tell families, I tell parents, model the behavior you expect in your children. Would you shoplift from a store and slip a candy bar when you're standing in line? No, you probably wouldn't. So get off your phone because the kids are watching. And I have so many of the kids I work with who say, well, my parents or my caregivers are complaining about me, but they're on their phone all the time. And so oh, but I have to work. Oh, I have to do this. You and I have talked about, we know we work a lot, but yes, the kids have a good point. I also will tell you, and I've seen this, teachers in classrooms. I walk by classrooms, Nanette, and I can see from the perspective, because I do a lot of this kind of stuff, and I walk by and the kids all have their screens up and they're all watching Netflix or they're on Instagram and the teacher can't see. But then I look and the instructor's on their device.
Right.
I mean, even in the classroom. And then but with parents and with caregivers, yes, you need to model the behavior.
And what is the message that we're giving out when we're sitting on our phones in our living room, when we're sitting on our phones as a caregiver or as a parent or a spouse? I mean, you and I talked about my husband wants to engage in TV and I'm engaging in social media. And I said, well, what's the difference? You're zoning out on the TV, I'm zoning out on social media. And you shared some pretty big differences with me.
Well, again, just my opinion, but when you were saying, okay, so my husband wants to zone out on TV, and this is where we talk about device use anyway, you know, because forever since television, people come home from work, it's been a long day, they kick back, you used to get the TV trays and watch from the minute they get home, we're zoning out in front of a TV, and now with streaming, it's so easy. But so there's nothing wrong with that, relaxing, we'll talk about that maybe later, but what you're talking about, because you were proposing that your husband wants you to zone out in front of the TV and you're scrolling.
Yes.
And you said, well, it's the same. And I said, well, I'm going to propose that maybe it's different.
Yeah.
So what did I say to you?
You said that I was engaging. He was watching TV and emotionally engaging with what was happening on the TV set, but I was reacting and engaging in what was happening on the screen in a completely different way.
Right. So he's exploring, and most of us, if we're watching a movie or television, we are passive observers, and our reactions and responses emotionally are in reaction or response to the characters. And maybe we're having transference, or maybe it speaks to us. But when we are scrolling, we are active, even if we're not actively engaging. We are still actively engaging, and it's more personal. And if there's content or for reacting or responding, the screen engagement is actual engagement, even if you're just doom scrolling, or even if you're just, you know, comparing and despairing, which is, so it emotionally can dysregulate us in a way that a television program or a movie won't. It's more personalized.
So let's go back to that comparing and despairing. I like that. I mean, I felt that when you said that, I felt that right here.
What do you think it is? What do you think I mean?
Well, constantly, you know, what does someone look like? What do they not look like? You know, is their family looks like maybe they're happier, healthier, or their vacation is better, or they drive a better car, or we're constantly what she's wearing, or what, you know, how he's proposing to her, all of those things as we're scrolling through.
Well, Nanette, you know I'm a tremendous fan, and you and I are colleagues and friends in the way that colleagues are, and you're one of my favorites. I'm going to tell you, I have it. Your life looks amazing. And so what happens with comparing and despairing, what we have to remember is that our social media sites, those are our store windows. It's our brand. Right. It's like if we were all a big mall and we all had a pop-up store. And that's our window. And it's what we're selling, what we're promoting, and telling everyone what our store is. Now, it's completely self-created, self-curated, self-managed. So is it real? And if these people have so much time, their lives are so amazing, I sit there and I have to remember, well, how do they have the time to do all this posting? However, I will tell you that I do it. I'm supposed to know about this. So I can't imagine what people who don't have the training I have feel, because I fall victim to it. And I'm just going through and I'm looking and I'm just comparing, and I'm like, oh, wow, look, Nanette went on a great vacation. Look at Jimmy, oh, his family. And I'm sitting going, my life sucks. My car sucks. My house sucks. My friends. And it's not real. Oh, because, and here's the other thing I want to say. It's comparing and despairing. But here's also, and I put this, and if anyone's seen my presentation, not once, not twice, but 3 times throughout the presentation, I invariably put the same slide. And it's my thesis. So what I propose, and if you're going to engage on social media, and there's a lot of great stuff. You can do a lot of promotion, especially like businesses and marketing. There's a lot of things. And I love connecting with my family and friends. I have them all over the world and colleagues. So again, nothing wrong with social media if it's used properly and it's in a healthy manner. But what I propose is my friends know what I got going on. My close friends, they know. I tell them, they tell me. We know what's going on in each other's lives.
Right. The real stuff.
So what I propose to anyone, and it's your choice, but before you post, consider, why am I posting this? My friends know, what do I need? Why do I need the world and the whole universe beamed out forever? Why do I need them to know this? What am I trying to get back from this? And I want people to be careful about that thought, because we also, and I teach the kids this, from the moment we digitally imprint, meaning the first time we do anything online, we are creating our autobiography forever.
Ever.
It's
Right.
being beamed out of space. Even if you take something down, someone could have screen captured it, you can still find it. We are writing our own autobiography that will go on forever and ever. So I want to make sure that it's something that you feel is good. The other thing is, I don't know if you've ever done this, we are so busy trying to harvest positive reactions, like, shares, yay, we don't think about the people sitting there in the dark, looking at our stuff and maybe making a decision about us. And I'm sure you've never done that. I have. And also the last thing I want to say, because I'm doing this right now, I'm trying to find, we're always trying to recruit and find good staff for our programs, right?
Right.
Forget resumes. Where do you go?
We do. We go to their LinkedIn, we go to their Facebook page, we go to their, Instagram, and it matters. And we've been talking to our kids and our teens about that for a long time. What you're posting, because as you said, it is your resume. It's your 2022 resume. It's your bio, and it's your
2032 resume, and 42 and 2152. But we make decisions about it. Even my daughter, when she was in college, she told me the sorority, they put up the girls, they put up their social.
Right.
But as an employer, I go because I also, and you do too, I work with kids. I need to make sure that, and look, it's free speech. Do whatever you want. I'm not trying to tell you what to post or not to post. And, APA created the Device Management and Intelligence Committee based on my work, which was amazing. And so for the last 7 years, we've been working on our recommendations for professionals. There are 12. If anyone can figure out why I decided we should have 12 guidelines, vote is
steps of recovery.
If you know, then you know. Because when my team, we were coming down after we peer reviewed them, and we came up with 12 recommended guidelines for professionals. And I'm doing this presentation. I do it a little bit. I'm doing it in next month because I think it's important for professionals to realize about their own online engagement, like what we're talking about. So when we came up with a group, it was 7 years, 6 years of this, and we came up with a whole list, and then we started distilling them down, discussing, we peer reviewed them, we asked, all that. And when it came down, we said, oh, how many should we do? And we were like, oh, 10, which is correct. It should be 10. And I said, oh, I don't know, why don't we do 12? And everyone no one else but me is in recovery. So everyone on my committee was like, oh yeah, like a dozen. I'm like, yeah, like a dozen. But it's my little like, kiss to the 12-step program. But we need to be careful because we do. And post whatever you want. Just be mindful that you never know who's going to see it, because we're so busy trying to cultivate positive responses, we don't think about the people who are, sorry, we're humans, judging us.
And what I've said to my kids for a long time as adults, we're always comparing our insides to other people's outsides. And our insides are never going to measure up to other people's outsides, right? If someone's all dolled up for work and all dressed up, and we're comparing our insides for that day, we had an off day, a bad morning, we were late, we were disheveled, our alarm clock didn't go off, whatever, we're having a bad day. Someone walks in and we're comparing our insides to other people's outsides all the time.
Correct. And while we're here, I think there's a moment, because I don't want to just start, identifying a problem, because a lot of times when I'm doing presentations, it's actually affirming for me, because IRL, in real life, I'll see people, sometimes it's cool. It's like I'm at an 80s, sorry, dating myself, headbanger concert. Everyone's like, yeah, with what I'm saying. And then, of course, as soon as I'm done, they turn on their device and it holds for a minute. But what I want to do is I want to make sure we give some solutions here.
So give me a couple examples of the guidelines. Give me a couple examples of those professional online guidelines that you were referring to.
Sure. Well, I want to, first of all, with social media, because we're on this Subway platform, and I want to make sure we give some takeaways. So it's not like, okay, yeah, we get it, Don, but so what? What do we do? Social media, my recommendation, 15 minutes most, in and out. If you want to engage, and I do, if you need to be on social for more than 15 minutes, then I suspect you're doom scrolling, you're going too deep in the threads. 15 minutes is my recommendation of you get into social media, check out what you need to check out, hit up your friends, say your birthday stuff and then get out. Regarding professionals, here's the one that's new. So I want to add this in because we're doing it right now. With professionals, certainly there's many things we need to be mindful of. Being respectful, making sure that what we promote is correct and true, and that we're not promoting ourselves in a duplicitous way. But one of the things that we just added, because it happened, was what we're doing right now, video platforming. So privacy is something we really, really are careful with. And I could tell stories, and I do, about some, let's just say #awkward experiences some professionals have had by maybe not keeping their privacy. And I've said this before, back in the day, doctors used to cut out their addresses in magazines, it said, in their waiting rooms. And these were doctors that maybe generations had gone to, or maybe they delivered your baby, but they would cut out. So why? Because of privacy. Online, we tend to forget that as professionals, especially as clinicians. And with the population we work with, go ahead.
So how do we protect our privacy? What do we do to ensure that?
That's a whole other, that's a whole presentation.
Give me a clue or two.
I want to do this one because I think it's important, because it's new.
Right. Our
backgrounds. Video platforming really took off during the pandemic, and we're doing it right now.
Right.
Yes, this is not fake, and there's all sorts of backgrounds, and this is why they put these in, where you can blur your background. You can put, I was telling you, like, for the last month, I was just having fun. They added an ice cave, so when video meetings, I was in an ice cave somewhere. But your backgrounds tell a lot about you. And people sit there and they make opinions about it. Sorry, we're human. It's just true. And maybe you haven't done it. I've done it. So you want to be careful what is revealed in your background. Yes, I have read these books. Now, I don't know about the ones on the other side, but these I've read. These are real. This is a real background, is my point, is that this is mine. But you can put on, and there's a reason why they've given those filters. But I want clinicians and people, and also if your kids are on video platforming, you need to make sure that they are being careful, and it's a hard one, of what is being revealed on their background, because you never know who's watching, you never know who's seeing. So that's the new guideline is that we were looking at, and we wrote, was about video platforming, and just be careful about what's behind you.
And it's really a safety tool.
And also people judge, like, if you look, whatever's going on in your background is your business, right? And if you want to reveal it all, that's okay, but people are human beings. So if you see a background and you might have feelings about it, I'm just keeping
right. If someone's desk is exceptionally messy and they're giving me advice about something, or they're teaching me about something, and their background is a mess, I'm not really going to hear what they say in the way that I could or should.
Let me make it even more real. How about if like a client's trying to tell me in my private practice, they need me to slide my rate because and I see their background and there's like, an Aston Martin sitting in their driveway. I'm like, you might have wanted to pick a different background when you're telling me that. And look, I'm just making kind of a funny one, but that actually happened because a client was telling me they just, they wanted to work with me, but they're telling me that could I please discount. But then I saw, and look, maybe it was something different, but I had a feeling about it. I'm not going to lie. Again, I'm a human being.
Right. And I do think it goes back to just safety and, as you said, people's opinions and how we're presenting ourselves, right? How are we putting ourselves forward, whether it's in a classroom, whether it's a professional setting? I mean, we're using digital platforms for a lot of things now.
Well, you're talking about privacy. I've been saying this for years. If you're going to go on vacation, I love that. I will probably hate you because I will compare and despair, and you are going on a great. So I'm not going to lie. I will probably be like, I never go on vacation. But I suggest it's a small thing, but I think it's important. If you're going to go on vacation, post those pictures after you return.
When you get back, right?
Because there was a rash of people not understanding how their houses were robbed.
And they were posting that they were gone. They were out of the country.
We are out of the country for 3 weeks. So I love sharing the photo album. It's a small thing, take it or leave it. But I'm like, you might not want to post that you're not at your house when you got your address and you got on, you're easily discoverable, and that you're out of the country for 3 weeks, and then wonder like, is my house safe?
Yeah. And so thinking of safety, I'm thinking of safety in adolescents and keeping their privacy and keeping their, we've talked about the compare and despair. I think that happens a lot in adolescents and young adults, not just
in real life too. You've got a better pair of sneakers than me. I can't afford those. You're cooler than me.
Right. So how do we advise our kids to keep that safety? Our teens, our young adults, what should we be advising them to maintain online safety?
Okay. And there's like commonsensemedia.org I really endorse them. They've got a lot of great resources, and I provided your team with some because there's a lot, because privacy now has, especially over the pandemic, cookies, this, that, there's a lot. Our information is basically everywhere, but here's the rub. And I couldn't believe this. I had this conversation with my kids a long time ago. Sorry, but you have to make sure that the kids even understand what privacy is. The digital natives grew up post 2001 and the Patriot Act. They don't understand the value, the valence, and the vitality of privacy, and they don't care because they all want to be influencers and have 1 million TikTok followers.
Right.
So I had this conversation with my children, who I believe are reasonable, and they were looking at me when I was talking to them. When every time I talk about privacy, they're like, "What are you talking about, Dad? We already know. We've seen the cyber breaches. There's probably like 7 of us walking around the world with passports with our names." You have to teach them. Look, what I do is a lot, and I'm not complaining. I love what I do. But again, we don't miss what we don't know. So when I embarked upon this, again, all those years ago, I was just trying to be a good dad. I wasn't planning on this. But as I started to investigate more and it started to evolve more, what I realized is the last generations of digital immigrants, there are things that I think we're losing very quickly about connection, about relationships, about, again, the virtue, value, and valence of in real life connections. And I'm, judge me. I really don't care. I'm holding this. I believe in love letters and written thank you notes, not breakup texts. I believe in photo albums and photos on my wall, not 7,000 pictures that are all the same, 10 of the same one in our phones or devices that we will never curate, we will never print. And that someday, when our walls are green screens, which they will be, we will never even bother to put into something that will stream photos on our wall. There's a lot of things. We can also learn a lot. And I use technology and I really enjoy it. And there's a lot of things of the value, but I'm worried about the things that are going to be lost. So when we talk about teaching our kids, privacy is something that is difficult, because when I was trying to talk to her, when I teach it, there's a very, very big digital divide in the room between the digital natives and the digital immigrants. Because whenever I talk about this, the people who knew and valued privacy are, yeah, how do we do that? And the digital natives like, That's the last thing I want. I
What
want
is
to be.
privacy? Everyone's in my room while I'm doing my makeup, while I'm changing my clothes.
Everyone knows everything, but because of all of the data breaches, including Equifax, I mean, the kids just have already, I've talked to them about this. They're like, what's the point? That ship has, that digital ship has sailed and sunk. They don't understand. So what I do is cherry pick. And I talk about danger. Look, basically stranger danger that so many things can be translated to online behaviors. But the problem is, I believe, or one of them is because we're digital immigrants and we don't really understand how technology works and we get frustrated. And I say, look, technology will fail us all. So becoming reliant on it is an issue. If you don't believe me, still cannot be beat for me. The very awkward and unfortunate I am not a cat lawyer experience.
Right.
Where the poor lawyer, they're trying to do an online trial that's legit, and the lawyer, apparently his daughter, it turns out, had put a filter. So he shows up as a cat to the court, and the judge is like, I'm not doing this. And the lawyer's like, I am not a cat. So right. Technology will fail us all. It will frustrate us, the Googles or whatever spinning wheel of death. So I say, look, it happens to all of us. Just scroll with it. Thank you. So, but just know that it can dysregulate us. But I also want to look at how our online behaviors are. But parents, a lot of digital immigrants don't really understand how this all works. So they're a little intimidated by it. So when I say learn about it, just go in, find out what your kids are doing, investigate, educate, participate, communicate, moderate, appreciate, validate. Go in. If your kid's talking about a game, if your kid's talking about a platform, just search it. But I believe that our online behavior should mirror. And that's with privacy too. So if you don't care, but I was going back to what I started on this train I took you on, we teach our kids stranger danger.
Right.
Teach them that online. There are many more strangers accessible, because I don't think standing in your front yard with your little kids or your kids, strangers are just going to start raining out of the sky and coming to your house. But we are inviting and we are engaging. So it's just a simple thing, but I tell parents, especially when the kids are young, stranger danger also works online. So things like that.
Don't post your kids' school. Don't post pictures of your kids' school or where you drop them off or where you pick them up or their, school of the day award. You're telling the whole world where your child is, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day.
Well, hold on, Pinterest that. It's also, and I teach this, I think that you need to ask your children before you post anything about them. I have a lot of kids who say, oh my God, my mother posted a picture of when on my 16th birthday from my 8th birthday and said, oh, I say, please, just ask your kids, especially don't be posting stuff about them. They will be #not happy. But I also say with us, and these are some of the things I talk about, professionals, I have stories about people posting where they are all the time, where their kids are, checking in. Why do I, please take this with no offense, do I really care that you're at the Marina 6 Theater watching Spider-Man?
Yeah. Or that you're at Starbucks in your pajamas.
Yeah, but why do I need you to check in at the Marina 6 Theater because you're watching? Why are you doing that? And that's why I say, before you post anything, and these are the 3 slides, I ask people, you can do it or not, but my recommendation is before you post anything, think, what is your real motivation? What do you need from this? What do you want from this? Why does the world need to know this? Why are you liking, posting, sharing anything or not? Because there's a real subtle thing that also goes on, and it's in the silo of cyberbullying, where maybe we don't like someone's, or on the other side, the kids do something called flaming. It's really mean, where they'll just start lighting up. The popular kids will start lighting up and liking and sharing and loving a kid who's maybe not so popular, and it's mean. But why do we not like? Why do we not post? Why, when someone shares something and tags us, do we put it on our wall or do we not? That's about social currency. That's a whole other thing too, but it's just something that we need to be aware of. And just think about it before you post. If it's a good idea to post today, probably going to be a good idea to post tomorrow, but you probably won't.
Yeah. So you use the term emotional dysregulation. So let's talk about that. What happens? Emotional dysregulation, we cannot connect when we're emotionally dysregulated. You know, we cannot do a lot of things when we're emotionally dysregulated. So what happens in our brain when we're scrolling? What happens when we're video gaming? What happens?
Nanette, you work, what do you think? Let's talk about let's move into it. We're at the point of the show where let's go deep. Let's go into neuropsychology and brain chemistry.
Right.
What's happening, Nanette,
Right. What and how is that dopamine and how are those things emotionally dysregulating us?
Well, dopamine is what we all want. That's the pleasure. So I post something and like 2 seconds later, I had 7,000 likes and I'm so excited about that. But again, I'm not thinking about the people who didn't like it. And then I'm going through and trying to see who liked it and did I get the right people? And so basically every time we post, it's like we're throwing a party. Right. That's how I look at it because I'm weird this way. But I talk about this too. I say, okay, so whenever you post something, it's like you're throwing a party every time. And you want to see who shows up. Because I was always terrified. I don't know about you. I was always, every time I give a party, it's like, oh my God, no one's going to come, or the popular kids or the right kids aren't going to come, or the right. So every time we post, if you think about it, we're throwing a party. And then we want to see the guest list. And then we want to see who didn't come and who did. So emotional dysregulation is really not about the dopamine, because the dopamine goes, yay. It's about the cortisol, the anxiety, the adrenaline, as we're waiting, as we're refreshing, trying to see after we post, not realizing it's so saturated. There's so many algorithms. We only, Facebook, Meta, thank you, Meta, whatever. Insta, the socials have algorithms that like, if you haven't engaged with people, you won't show up on their feeds. There's times of day, there's different days, but we're so invested and we keep going back and going back. And then our validation, our ego strength, our sense of self-worth is suddenly and not legitimately determined by a set of variables that we have no control over, including how many people saw our post. But we decide as we keep looking back and refreshing to see, did more people who did Nanette like it? Why didn't Nanette like it?
Yeah, and what happens if they didn't, and how I'm
gonna punish them. I'm not gonna like the next thing. If Nanette didn't like this, and maybe you weren't on social, you didn't see it, but okay, you didn't like mine. I was gonna like yours about whatever. I'm not gonna do it now, and I'm also gonna feel bad. And now I hate you. And now
I think everyone hates me too, because no one liked my cute picture of my dog, which is the cutest dog on the whole planet, and nobody liked it. So therefore, nobody likes me. That's right. And we were talking about that. Gaming. There's a big spike in brain chemistry when kids are gaming, and then they get off. They shut off the game, and those spikes bottom out. And the parents are like, "What's wrong with them? Or why are they fighting to get back to that game? They're fighting for those brain chemistry spikes."
And the gaming thing is, again, a whole other thing. But here's what I will tell, just what you said. You're so on point. I tell parents, you need to realize, and it's actually segues nicely with what we were talking about brain chemistry. I said, I have had parents who've told me that they're a very nice, calm, stable kid. When they try to get them off the gaming, they're like, Don, it's like they turned into the possessed. I'm like, you need to look at this. Let me try to help you here. Your kid who's stable and has, everything's stable, the serotonin, the norepinephrine, the dopamine, everything is okay, goes into a game, especially if it's like a certain type of game. It's not, just kind of a happy game. It's some kind of war game. It's some kind of, I don't want to get into it. I don't know. Right. If it's a game where they're actively engaged in a way that is very,
adrenaline driven,
animated, right?
Yes.
So all that's going, you go to try to pull your kid off that game, and you wonder, and I'm not kidding. I was in London, and this woman told me it's not just here. She's like, he bit my arm. I'm like, yeah, I had a. So what you have to realize is that gamer, all that's coursing through their brain most likely is adrenaline, cortisol, and dopamine. So you're asking a kid who's in the middle of a raging game with that working, your kid is gone, they're in the game. Then you want to pull them off the game and have them sit down at the table and have a nice dinner or do their homework. No, it's like pulling someone out of a jungle war. They need to have that recess, all those they have to. And so I tell parents, do not fight. Give them a warning. Set up gaming parameters before they go into the game that they agree to. Then maybe give them a 5-minute warning or 10-minute warning. It's dinner. Maybe if you want to give them one more gently, that's fine, but then walk away, leave them alone. Because what happens is the kid is so focused, starts screaming, the parent gets aggravated or the caregiver gets aggravated. And then they take that. Now they've absorbed the cortisol, the adrenaline, and no dopamine. Right. They take that downstairs, start raging at their partner and the rest of the family.
Yes.
There's another thing that before I forget, this is important. We were talking about modeling behavior. I tell parents and kids and adults, when you're in real life with someone else, turn off the device and store it. I'm sure there's not going to be a zombie apocalypse in the hour you're with them. And if there is, if you watch The Walking Dead, just take the device and right to the brain. Don't go for the brain. But right. I tell people, put it away. Don't be an absent presence. Be in present presence, because if you're on your device, you could miss an organic bid for connection. Say that you're sitting in a doctor's office or somewhere and everyone's on their devices or on the bus. You could miss, I don't know how you met your best friend. I don't know how you met your husband. And some people meet them online, but organic bids for connection used to be everywhere. It's how we met people. It's how we saw people. It's how we made friends. It's how we had partners.
It's how we connected.
It's how we connected. But I say, turn it off and be in present presence, because also say that you're a parent and you're a teenager. The one time they've exhausted, all their friends are not available online. They come over and they're going to come talk to their parents and they're going to give you a minute or I want some advice. And you're going like this and you're like, hold on. You're going to miss it. I also say, when you're at a table, parents, no meals, no phones on or devices on tables, please. Because why? Be there. Now, here's how I explain it. I don't know, maybe it's never happened to you because I can't imagine, but for me it has. In real life, what this looks like, if you have your device on a table when you're with someone, or what it is in real life to me is when you're at a party or at an event, and you come up and you're talking to someone and they're talking to you, but they're looking over your shoulder for a better bid. So if we're looking for a better bid, how does that make you feel?
Poor.
Right.
Doesn't make me feel good.
So if the device is on the table, then the message to the other person could be, well, I'm really interested in you, but if a better bid comes along, I'm going to take it.
Right. Or if you answer your phone, how many times have you been in conversation with someone and they answer a call, or they are like, wait a minute, I have a text. Or just a minute.
How did we ever survive when we had the phone on the wall and no answering machine? How do we ever make it as a civilization to this point?
Yeah. But what is the messaging we're giving to that person we're communicating with, right? You're less important. You're less valuable than what could possibly be on the other end of this phone. And I know a lot of us are on call for work. A lot of us carry, but we're not brain surgeons, most of us. There may be some brain surgeons on here. It's not a life or death call. I'm not a 911 number. I'm not a 911 resource, so it can wait 5 minutes.
I've got a strategy for a compromise of what DBT folks call middle path, because I get it. And look, there are opportunities. I'm not trying to say there aren't. So what I tell people, if you have to, then what you do is set up a special ringtone for your children. Mm-hmm. If my kid's trying to call me, I actually don't want it because it's going to be they're asking me for money. At this point. So I don't, when my kids call, when I see now.
That's the ringtone to avoid.
It's like, okay, hi, love you. Yeah, don't start with the daddy. How much is this call going to cost me? Fine, and they're the loves of my life. But what you can do is you can put an alert on for your caregiver, your nanny, the school, your kids, your partner, and then one person at work that knows only interrupt you if it's 911. Put that ringtone for those people only. And when you're sitting with someone, say, look, I'm with you. I'm just gonna set it up. I want to be with you. I have a ringtone. If I hear this ringtone or I hear this vibration, I may have to answer it because we can take advantage of these portable devices.
Right.
And you can set that up. It's funny, speaking of portable, people ask me all the time, when do I think this all changed? It happened so quickly. This is just a hypothesis. I think that it all changed in 2008 when it changed for me, when I gave my daughter that iPhone, when the internet became portable. That's when it changed. That was for me the inflection point.
Right.
It's when the internet became portable, and then designers and coders, the game is rigged against us. If it's free, you're the product. Their goal is to get you into that casino and never let you leave. But when it became portable, that's when we started missing out on the human connection in real life. That's just my hypothesis.
And that's how we can re-engage, right? Reconnecting is putting down the devices, setting time limits.
Turning it off.
Turning it off. All the way to turning it off, not just putting it down, but turning it off. Whew, that's hard. I don't know that I think I can do that. I see Risa shaking her head too.
Almost
Turning
makes
it
me
off.
feel anxious just hearing that.
Hi, Risa, you're back.
Hi, I'm back and I'm here. This has been such an amazing conversation, but we do have some questions that have come in. I'd love to try and get to as many of them as we can. So this is the time, guys. If anyone has any questions for Nanette or Dr. Dawn, you can place them in now. In the meantime, there are some really great questions here. So the first one is from someone named Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Are certain technologies better or worse to spend your time on? For example, playing a video game stimulates your brain and enables critical thinking as opposed to just watching TV and sitting there.
Sure. Here's what I'll make it kind of simple, if I can. So there's nothing wrong with devices or spending time on them. And and once like what's coming, and the thing that happened, the pandemic accelerated things that we thought were going to be 10 years away. And we were not even prepared as media psychologists. We weren't even prepared for 10 years from now, but commerce, academics, goodbye mall, movie theaters. I don't think Nicole Kidman needs the money. Why is she doing commercials for AMC? So there's a lot of things that happened during the pandemic. I'm just saying, there's a lot of things that happened that were accelerated, but look at like anything. Be honest with yourself. If honestly, your device use, like any other behavior, if it is compromising, impeding, or causing an issue with your biological health, your psychological health, your sociological health, your career or academic success, or your environment and relationships, you might want to look at why. So just be honest. You don't have to tell anyone or ask for some help. But if there is something that it is causing and it's a pattern of disruption, or if you are isolating and you're wondering, I'm so lonely, I don't have any friends. Oh, am I online friends? Right. So you kind of look at, is it impacting your life in a way that doesn't make you happier, that could be improved? Then you might want to look at examining that piece of, and one of the things, and I'm not endorsed by any company. I get to do consulting. I'm very fortunate. I'm very grateful that I labs and I get to test out. I see a lot of things that scare me because they're so good that are coming, but I'm not affiliated with any organization except for the ones that have been disclosed. But there is a certain company that has a device with something called screen time. So and I'm not endorsing it or not endorsing it. I have no affiliation with this company. But what I tell people, if you want to start, maybe look, spokesperson, I hope you get free gear. So I tell people there's other platforms, but this is an easy one. Don't tell anyone. It's where I start with clients that I work with. I say, just go into that little app on there called Screen Time and do a self-audit and look. It will tell you, it's got so comprehensive. It'll show you where you're using, what days you're using, how much time you're using, what apps you're using. And then you can make the decision, Scooby-Doo, is that a little too much? Because it lays it out. It gives you all the data and you can decide. But yes, the person who asked the question is absolutely correct. There are so many great things, and there's so many tools, especially for people who are compromised emotionally, psychologically, disabilities. There's so much on the internet that can help them with skills. You just have to be careful. Oh, look at Miss Self-Disclosure.
I'm closing my own screen time, but this is what you were talking about, where I can actually see how much screen time going on.
What days, what apps. I'll tell you, I have suggested that, and to a 1. I've never had this not happen. The people have come back to me, and even myself have been, let's just say, surprised. Like they got it wrong. They super underbid.
Completely underbid how much time. My phone tells me now all the time, my average weekly phone time per day.
Yeah.
And I'm always shocked, even though my phone is glued to me, I'm always shocked at the number of hours it says I spend on the
Well,
phone.
also you need to, and I tell parents this, you need to, I'm such a geek about data. When you clean the data, you have to remove the communication piece, because that's how we communicate. Now, if you're over communicating and when you don't need to, but I tell parents that my kid's always on their device. I'm like, well, back in the day, it used to be called our phones. And my parents, I wore them down. First, they got this thing called call waiting, because I was always on the phone as a teenager calling my girlfriend. And I would just ignore the call waiting. I'm like, I'm talking to who I want you, beep, beep. And my parents got really cheesed. So they finally, I wore them down. My parents got me my own phone line.
Own phone line.
Yeah, because I wore them down. But now the kids are talking on the phone. I mean, they don't talk on the phone. Their voicemails are full. So
what's the commercial where it says, you hang up, no, you hang up, no, you hang up?
Yeah, they communicate a different way. So you need to clean out the time that you're actually spending communicating. And
All
then
right.
look at the rest.
We have a few more
Look at
great
the
questions
app.
here I want to make sure we can get to. But first, I think a big question is, normally this webinar series is focused on addiction and mental health. So is this really the same sort of addiction than we're used to hearing? Alcohol addiction, drug addiction, is this really the same?
Okay, I was gonna avoid, I shouldn't have, I thought about this. It's just, okay, I need to be clear. We cannot call it addiction yet. I wish it has all the criteria, but according to the American Psychological Association, we have not. We're trying to get online gaming disorder in. We got it in condition for further study in the current DSM. I predict, and I got to work with a work group. I think we're gonna end up dropping the online and just call it gaming disorder, like the rest of the world, and the WHO in 2017 said it is. So I have to be careful. You guys can call it whatever you want, but as a professional, as a member, and I'm president of my division of APA, as you said, so we cannot call it addiction.
Okay.
I can't call it that.
Does it light up the same,
Yes.
the same structures in the brain?
Same criteria, address it the same way, treat it the same way.
think that's
When you
what's
said that,
important.
Risa, I have to be careful because again,
Sure.
this is being digitally archived forever and someone might see it and say, you know better, we can't call it addiction yet.
Sure.
I'm very hopeful we will. I think it is, I personally think, and I can say this, yes, it's all the same criteria, but not
Same brain
everyone is
chemistry.
addicted, not everyone is reliant, not everyone has a problem, but I do believe we will get to this place, but I just had to say that because someone will come at me.
Okay. And here's a question. Is there a certain amount of screen time that constitutes being addicted, or is it more just the feeling of not being able to get away from it, or that it's impacting your life negatively?
She's so good at this. Nanette, I want to hear what you think about this.
I think what you just said, if it's affecting your work, if it's affecting your relationships, it's affecting your health, mental health, physical health, then it's a problem. A problem is never a problem until it becomes a problem. The areas of your life, is it affecting work? Is it affecting, education, personal life? That's when we know it's a problem. It doesn't have to be labeled addiction. It doesn't have to be labeled anything. We
An
know.
impediment, a barrier to success or opportunities. And I told people who struggle with this, I said, okay, why don't we play a game? Replace the word device with anything: sugar, alcohol, shopping, wrapping paper, your couch. And if you replace that word and just filled in the rest of it, the way that your relationship with your device, but just use the word, couch. Is it a problem? Do you need to get rid of that couch or not sit on that couch so much, or maybe reupholster that couch? And I say, if you remove I can't get rid of it. Like you said, Risa, I have oh my gosh. Okay, let's remove it. Fill in the word, change the word and fill in it. And would you do something about that couch? And that I found works when they can depersonalize it from devices.
Mm-hmm.
It
or
just
gaming or their computer. Yeah.
That's interesting. It's a good way to think about that.
Right.
Okay, so how about this? Can solely using those new settings on smartphones, like screen time tracking, actually help you control your device, or do you recommend doing more than just relying on the phone reminding me to unplug? Sometimes I find myself putting in my password to extend my screen time, and then it becomes another problem. So what are your thoughts?
Risa, I don't know, but I think we may have talked about this before, like in the meeting before the meeting.
We did.
Do you want to give now, first of all, I don't know, because I have to say, it's individualized. I don't know the story. I don't know the situation. So,
Sure.
but let's just say general terms. Hey, Risa, I offered you a little suggestion about that.
Yes. So what I had said is that I put on my own parental controls on my own phone to limit my screen time on social media to what I think is reasonable. But then it pops up and it says, do you want more? And I can just click that little button and give myself 15 minutes more. So I asked Dr. Don what he thought about that. And he basically said that, it's still helping provide some awareness and giving me some, benchmarks that I'm aware of how many times I'm clicking that. So for me, I'm still glad I set those up. But I'm sure you can answer this question so much.
Well, here's the thing. And what I said to you is, look, I don't know what your life is. I don't know what you want to improve. But if you keep thinking maybe there's an issue. So relapse prevention, and as Annette and I, who are certified, drug counselors and specialists and experts also, when we teach relapse prevention, and when I teach it, I should speak for me, relapse prevention, if you want whatever it is, it can be that piece of pie in my refrigerator. So I can wrap the pie, put it in sealant, hide it behind the milk. If I want it, I'm going to get it. But relapse prevention to me, with anything, whether it's substance or process or a person, a relational thing, it's just putting barriers between you and access, right? Because you're going to get it. So if you uninstall and unblock and just, so what I had said to you, Risa, what I suggest when people have come to me, especially with games, then give the control to someone you trust. So instead of setting up your own parental controls, yes, that's great, because you have to have a thought. Well, do I want to? And then you might have some guilt. Well, I'm going to do it anyway and be oh, shame, whatever. Give the controls just for whatever platforms, apps, to someone else you trust, a partner, a close friend, a mentor, or whatever, and say, look, I may or may not be having a little struggle with this one platform or app. Can you set up a parental control for me just for that? And so that I can't get at it. And then you have to make the decision to really go beg that person to give you back Snapchat, because I need it. I'm going to die if I don't have it.
Okay, that's a really helpful tool. So Nanette, to help bring this all home, if people that are watching this webinar feel like they're struggling, or someone they know that's struggling, what resources are out there? What can Hired Power do as a resource to help?
So as we said, Don gave us a great list of resources that we are going to put on the website along with the recording of this video. And if it's specific to devices, again, we're evaluating, where is it impacting us? Is it impacting us in our work, in our personal relationships, in our mental health, in our physical health? Because there's a lot of different tools to be used. So yes, reaching out to a professional, getting some evaluation, not specifically about the device use, but what's happening around, what's happening to you personally around the device use, or around the gaming, or around homeschooling, or working from home. What are the emotions? And so reaching out to Dr. Don's IOP for young adults and adolescents, his adolescent program at Newport Behavioral, reaching out to Hired Power and talking to someone about what resources can I bring to my child, my loved one, or myself about the depression that I'm feeling, about the detachment that I'm feeling, about the physical health that's happening to me. So
okay.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out, because I was very fortunate that I was I'm the executive director of an outpatient program for adolescents, PHP and IOP, in Santa Monica. It's for mental health, and it's the Newport healthcare model, but I may or may not have my healthy device management curriculum for the clients and families in that site. I do.
Okay, thank you. So we'll provide that as a resource. And I guess I know we're going over on time, but you said something to me that was really powerful also during the prep time, because I am a mom, I work from home, I have a lock on my door. And last night, my kid, after they came home from school, they were knocking on the door to try and talk to me. I was in the middle of a work call, and I did what you said. And I said, shh, give mommy 1 minute. And will you tell everyone what you were telling me? Because I think this is really hitting home to me, and trying to be the best mom that I can.
Development, insecure attachment.
So for the last 7 years, I've been working on a research study of an investigation of something that has been concerning me. So what I was talking to you about, and now we're in it, and I've talked about it, and I presented about it. I am worried that we are going to be seeing, or already are seeing, a new form of insecure attachment. I know this is lofty. The psychology people are like, what? I'm like, just let the research stand for itself. We'll see. I'm just putting it out there. Maybe just educate. So calm down. But I have this idea that because of devices being an absent presence, that we might be already seeing or see an insecure attachment or attachment ruptures based on a caregiver being there, but being in absent presence with their child or their charge, what you said. So in other words, you're there in corporal presence, but you're on your device. Or especially during the pandemic, we were working from home. So the kid doesn't do that, trying to get our attention. And what we say, stop, and closing doors and saying, 1 minute. Well, the message to the kid is rejection, abandonment, you're not important, which if you know anything about attachment theory, insecure attachment and how it's formed during the developmental stage, but we don't mean to. And we would never, and when we're with them, we're with them. But when the devices are between us, we prioritize it. The child does not know that. So that's what the research, that's what I've been working on for a long time. And it's what I've been speaking about a lot. And I just want parents to be mindful of that. 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Or what you do, how do you get around it? Set it up with the kids. Especially if you're working from home, say, look, mommy, daddy, caregiver's going to work. So I'm going to be at work. So if you need me, I will come out and find you. Just explain it to even your small child that it's like you're at work. You will check in with them, but let them know what's going on. Just be more aware of that and give them the information so they're not disappointed and they understand that you can't talk. And be very careful. Even parents of teenagers, like Nanette and I were saying, be very careful of doing this. And when you're on a device, think about how you feel. If you're trying to get someone's attention and they're like this and they give you the finger, a different finger, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, even a spouse, even a best friend.
Well, that's a different finger. Oh, sorry, what?
Yeah, and sometimes I even find myself saying, it's okay, I can multitask, I'm listening, but
We're
we're
not.
not being present. And
Just one subtle hand gesture. What do you, if someone
so
does,
this is probably what you're talking about, where maybe it is an issue if people like me are feeling like that's happening often and I'm, unable
to a child, especially in a developmental stage of attachment, #duh. So look, I hope I'm wrong about this. All investigations, as a researcher, we just investigate. That's what investigations and research are. That's what they're for. It's so we have an idea and we see. I just want to see. I'm just curious, like any other research study I've done. I don't know. I just have a crazy idea. But that's how all theory and all research is either proven, disproven, or null, or maybe it needs to be, have more studies. I'm just putting some out there, but I don't think it's unreasonable to tell people to be more mindful of your relationships when you're on your device, whether it's with a child, a partner, a spouse, a friend sitting somewhere. The organic bits for connection are everywhere and people extend them. I don't think it's unreasonable, even if I'm wrong about the attachment thing, which I hope I am, which the researcher never says.
Which brings us back perfectly to, why this whole webinar is to unplug, to reconnect.
And it's great though. I want to point out, again, I'm going to end with what I started. Thank you, first of all, to you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who came.
Thank you.
But I want to say the ability that we got to connect with all you people out there that we can't see because it's just, but this is a good piece of technology. We can reach more people. So this, I'm not anti-technology. This is a perfect example of getting to connect in a different way. And I hope that someday we all can be in the same room together when it's, But
if you have an opportunity to see Dr. Don present, it's like a show. I mean, his presentations are amazing. If you ever get the opportunity, we'll post where he's speaking. It's a great hour. You'll laugh, you'll be sad.
You might win a prize. There may be
you might win a prize. Yeah.
I believe it. Okay, well, one last final just thank you comment, and then Nanette, you can have some final words. Michael says, wow, so many provocative issues. I'm really happy I was able to listen to this webinar from the Fry's grocery store parking lot. Thank you.
Yay! And I love it. He gave the plug. His boss, he gave the plug.
Thank you. So Nanette, any final words before we sign off here?
No, again, just thank you, Dr. Don.
I gotta point out, sorry, I want to go back because what it says, You do realize what Fry sells, right?
Electronics.
Go, way to go. Well played, Michael.
Yes.
Thank you all for tuning in today. I think we could probably do a part 2. We touched on so many topics today, so many things that we could expand on. Dr. Don, you are a pleasure always. Hired Power is grateful to our relationship. I'm grateful to my friendship with you. You are always enjoyable. I always walk away with a bigger smile than I started with. So I appreciate you. Hired Power is a resource. We are here to support any issues around mental health, addiction for you, yourself, your loved ones, or people you care about. So reach out. We are an excellent resource.
Absolutely. Thank you so
Thank you
much,
both. And
Nanette.
shout out
Thank you,
to
Dr.
Risa.
Don. Oh,
Thanks,
thank you.
Risa.
And again, you know, these things do not only happen during business hours. So Hired Power is available 24/7, 365, you know, whatever you need. Hired Power is there. And I'm sure just like Dr. Don's group is as well.
And Nanette will answer her device. She's already outed herself, so just call.
Yeah, just call. It's already been buzzing. It's been sitting over here buzzing for the full hour, and I've tried not to let my eyes reach over to the
There
buzzer.
definitely could be a part 2 to this, because how do we do that? You're helping people. This is your job.
That's
It's
right.
still
That's a real one.
technology.
That's a real one. When we work in healthcare,
It
and we can
is.
talk about that. But thank you guys so much.
Thank you
Thank you,
guys
Dr.
so
Don. We'll
much.
be inviting you back.
All right. Have a
Thank
great
you,
afternoon,
everyone.
everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.